Hey guys, coming at you with another project update on the Blue Meanie 1991 Wrangler V8 swap project. For those of you who don't know yet, this is my 1991 Jeep Wrangler. I've had it for coming on 3 years. Um, has a 355 cubic inch small block Chevy in it, flat top aluminum 4 valve relief pistons, Hedman mid length headers, YN 7 quart oil pan, high volume oil pump, aluminum water pump, double roller timing chain, comp cams, either a Magnum cam or Extreme Energy cam. I forget which. It's around 268 lift, 292 duration, I believe. Edelbrock intake, aluminum intake, Holly 650 double pumper, and Turbo 400 behind it, and Chevy truck 12 bolt 373 posi rear that's a little beefed up. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, today I got my brake booster back in and my steering column back in. You can see I still got stuff to work on, like, there's a hole where the clutch master cylinder used to be, but we're getting there. I got my dashboard in. Open up my door here. I got my wiring harness in for the rear of the body, all the taillights and the fuel pump and everything. And then I got my dash harness in, as well as, like I said, my pedals, my steering column. I got the dashboard all in. Everything's all screwed together. You might be able to see it's a little bit of a pain to get in. This isn't even with the crossbars on, but I kind of gotta weasel my leg in, sit over the seat awkwardly, and then kind of twist my body in, and then close my door here. My leg's gonna be right up against the door, and yeah, it's this is with the seat back all the way, by the way. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty cool. Finally sitting in this car with a steering wheel and a dashboard in it for the first time in about a year and a half since I've had this thing apart. You can see I got my little gauge panel. That's going to be the actual gauges that I monitor the engine with. All these factory gauges aren't going to work with the 355. The fuel gauge is going to work. The clock never worked, but oil pressure and the volt gauge and the temp gauge, I'm obviously not going to be hooking up. Speedometer, I don't know how I'm going to get that to work with the Turbo 400, because the Turbo 400 and the factory 5-speed that were in this use a different kind of cable situation. And obviously the factory tack's not going to work. I have a Sun Pro tack that I'm going to clamp to the steering column. That's how I had it when I had the 4-cylinder in it. But got my radio there. I got the climate controls. They're not hooked up to anything. They're not hooked up at all. They're just there to fill the hole. I'm not going to be running a heater box, at least not as of right now. The heater box that I have has a bunch of broken off studs that mount it to the firewall. I think there's only one that's actually there. All the other ones, I took it out of the car to do the heater core in it forever ago, and when I put it back in, I welded what was left of the studs to the firewall. So that was kind of a one-time thing. Plus, I think some of the flaps in the heater box are broken, so it's not even going to work that well. I would have to get a new heater box, and at that point, it's not even really worth it just to have defrost in, a Jeep that isn't going to have a top on it most of the time. I'm only going to drive this thing in nice weather as of right now. Yeah. This thing. Don't exactly remember what I did in the last video, but I also got my horn hooked up. Well, I have my horn sitting there, bolted. I got my fuel line ran, the feed line with the filter on it. I got that ran where it would go if the 4-cylinder was in it. I think my plan is there's a quick disconnect fitting down there, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a little rubber hose and then a metal line along the front of the frame and then across the bottom of the rad support, or in front of it where this bracket is that actually holds the brake line. But I want to run the fuel line across and then over to the mechanical pump, or run a clacker, but either way it has to go to that side of the engine because that's where the feed is for the carburetor. That's pretty much it as far as what I've been doing recently on the car. I think also I got my spark plugs in and I got my headers on. I'm not sure if I got my headers on last video or not, but I'll just show you. Got the headers on and I got my exhaust ran, flow FX mufflers and flow FX resonators really, and then tips just coming right by the axle. You can see this is the rear end. It's a Chevy truck 12 bolt, which isn't the strongest, but it does have beefed up axle shafts and like a regular clutch type posi, which is, I believe that this engine or this rear diff was built up at some point. They did a really good job on it, so I'm very glad to have that in this thing. I can see that's what the underside of the body looks like. It's got a little bit of surface rust since I put it on here, but nothing too major. I got it all stickered up. This sticker and that cherry bomb sticker were on it when I parked it. Then I added these two David Freiberger stickers, Flowmaster sticker, Comp Cam sticker, ARP sticker. I got this little tow hitch on so that I can put a little basket on the back if I ever want to do a road trip in this thing. Or, you know, if I just feel like hauling a cooler, or if I have my pit bike, I could haul that. Yeah, I believe that is everything. I have my windshield frame off to replace the seal that runs along the bottom. I was going to paint the inside of it, but that windshield frame is too beat up. It's really beat up along this edge. I'm not really sure why, but it's like they knocked into a tree or something with it, and it's like it's got a massive dent. I've tried hammering it out and using heat, and it just refuses to come out. It's like right on a seam. So I think at some point in the very distant future, I'll just replace it. But for now, I just took it off to replace that rubber seal that goes along the bottom. But yeah, I mean, now that I'm finally done yapping, that's it for this video, guys. I will catch you in the next video. I will update you next time I do something relatively major to the car. As far as the engine goes, I'm still waiting on money to be able to buy the alternator and the break-in oil, and I still need a throttle cable, a distributor hold down, a battery, and a radiator and fans. And pretty much once I get all that stuff, I would theoretically be able to run the engine. Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. So I will catch you in the next one. And yeah, peace.